Hey, it's me again with another video. So today I want to talk about, for freight companies, this year's peak will be weak. So they're already predicting that the peaks are going to be weak, and this is critical because we're in a time where it's supposed to be at its peak. The fourth quarter is always peak time for truckers because of the realtors and the holiday season. But due to what's going on, they're predicting it's going to be weak. So let's go ahead and get this started. Peak season, an annual event in the freight industry, serves as the most important season in the calendar for many transportation firms. Depending on mode, peak season kicks off at different points of the calendar, mostly based around the role in the supply chain that a freight provider plays in ensuring that retail goods are on the shelf for the holidays. Peak season by modes. So the ocean tankers is from July through September. Trucking and railroad intermodal is from October through December. So it's supposed to be starting now. We're still not really seeing nothing right now. Parcel, Black Friday through December 24th. With the peak season already completed in ocean freight, we can say that with certainty that this year's peak season will be incredibly weak. Back in June, they reported that ocean containers values would drop quickly based on data found in Sonal Container Atlas, which tracks booking volumes at the point of origin. By tracking point of origin bookings, we get an advanced look at import volumes months before those containers hit U.S. ports. So this is why they be able to predict it, because they already see it in advance. At the time of publication, we believe that the contraction in volume would happen at U.S. ports by July, but we underestimated how long it would take to clear the backlog of container ships off major U.S. ports and then waiting to clear U.S. customs. In August, it appears that they want us that warnings was unwarranted, at least looking only at U.S. custom import volume data. That data showed the market was relatively stable and hadn't contracted, but maritime spot rates and container shipping lines actions told a completely different story. So ocean spot rates and imports fell off the cliff this year. First, we saw container rates collapse, suggesting that carriers would rapidly losing pricing power. When we published our June piece, the cost to ship a 40-foot container from China to the U.S. West Coast was about $9,630. Today, the same container would be transported for $2,470, 74% lower than just a few months ago. This happened in a backdrop of a significant number of blank sailings by container ship lines. The container lines will cancel voyage to put capacity out of the market, according to Sea Intelligence. So we're going to go down to how the trucking turndown materialized. The trucking industry has been struggling since the first quarter. They predicted that a freight recession was imminent based on the drop in freight loads volumes and tender rejections in the first quarter. And it's been like that since the fourth quarter. The Sonal Outbound Tender Volume Index, or short known as OTVI, measure truckload load requests from shippers to carriers moving under contract rates. From the start of February to the end of March, it dropped by 12%. So it still keep on dropping, which that's supposed to be a drop season. The beginning of the year, but it's not supposed to stay like that. The volume drop continued in April and May, and with OTVI registering another 2.5% decline, but stabilized in June and conjunction with the summer construction, beverage, and product shipping season. In June, the OTVI index registered an increase of 1%. 1% is crazy. A stable June provided some confidence to carriers executives that the slowdown in the earlier part of the year was just a cooling of volumes, that the inflated levels of the COVID economy. So, this is what their predictions are. They see a little growth, they get happy and excited, but they still got to watch the market, because you just never know. So all this negative news, it may be a turnaround, because you just never know. We're just going off of predictions, off of what happened, so we're assuming that what's going to come. It's all assumptions. It's nothing to be sweat about right now. Unfortunately, the optimism at the end of June was short-lived and proved to be an anomaly in a disappointing year. The OTVI index dropped by 8% in the third quarter, with the majority of this drop occurring in the last 2 weeks of September. The decline has continued into October, with OTVI dropping an additional 3%, because it's not that bad, but it's bad. The reality of the market deterioration is starting to set in across all trucking fleets. Everybody feeling it. But we're going to have some good news, because I've seen some good news, and I'm going to shoot that video later on. During the publicly traded trucking companies' third quarter conference calls, executive talked about how muted they expected the peak to be. So now we're going to talk about the executives. Trucking executives are weary. So everybody that's big timers, they get them by the big bulk, so they know how it's going to be, because we get the crumbs of it, like I talked about before. So when it comes in abundance to them, they can't handle it. That's how trucking sometimes get. You can have 1,000 trucks, you can have 5,000 trucks. The demand out here is so crazy that you can't handle it by yourself, so you're going to have to let people get it. So now we get a lot to pick from, the small guys. But if they're not seeing an abundance, we don't see no crumbs. We get to pick up really nothing. But hear what they have to say. Here were some of the notes, quotes, and other market commentary from the early learnings, reports, and calls from the trucking industry. So, Knight-Swift, the largest truckload carrier in the U.S., CFO Adam Miller says, "It's rare that you go into the fourth quarter and not see some change of seasonal uplift, and projects and spots opportunities, especially with companies of our scale." You know what I'm saying? They talking their shit. "We typically get some of these large kind of difficult projects to handle, and they typically pay a premium. None of that stuff materialized." So, and they're big dogs because Knight and Swift merged together, so it made them even bigger. CEO Dave Jackson anecdotally, meaning personally speaking, anecdotally, we hear from those that have receivables with small carriers, and it has turned ugly very, very quickly for them, Jackson said. The pressure just continued to mount. "I wouldn't be surprised if there aren't many small carriers that are just holding on, holding out hope for a strong fourth quarter to build them out of a tough summer with no spot freights," which is me, and probably which is you. We holding on for fourth quarter. Don't film it now. Gotta turn trucking out. You don't want nobody. But anyway, Landstar. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys heard about Landstar, one of the largest truckload carriers, largely made up of a network of small franchise operators. So you got many people that go over there and do their thing. President and CEO Jim Gattini, on customer expectations, says everybody's indicating a flat to a soft, muted peak season. Since our July call, which is supposed to be one of the peaks, I would say things have clearly softened up compared to the anticipation of a better peak season. JB Hunt, you already know them guys are popular, says, further evidence has presented itself over the course of the quarter that requires an increased level of caution and awareness on broader demand trends and economic activities. Head of Intermodal, this guy looks weird, Darren Field, says, peak season this year just doesn't appear to be much of an event, although the company is taking market share. Covenant Logistics, a large expedited and dedicated truck